We are live.
We are live, and I'm getting a message here.
Oh,
That is why I was looking like that. That is interesting. Anyway, we're live. I hope everybody is doing well right now as I multitask through this technical situation. I think I've grown accustomed to being able to do such. How are you doing this evening, Rodney?
I'm doing all right. And yourself?
I am doing well.
You enjoyed the heat out there today? You like heat, right?
Um,
A little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, you like fall and spring, so I take that back.
Yeah. It was a scorcher.
No,
Um, it was a scorcher out there, and I am currently trying to see why we are not showing up on Facebook right now. So,
yeah. I also need the switches so that we are big like that.
but I am like Prince Hakeem says, I am very happy to be here. I am excited that we are here with everybody. This is the last broadcast before all of our little ones have gone back to school. So our elementary, middle, and high students, and so our educators, our parents, and everybody. Um, I am reading these messages, and they are. Are you seeing them?
Yeah, yep, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. This is a new one. But this is a little bit of, this is our last hurrah, I guess, kind of summer one. So, I'm excited to be here, carry this summer out before all the children are in school. We got some things to look forward to. Some people across the country have already embarked upon this journey. I think we in the Hampton Roads area, um, I think we in the Hampton Roads area are among the last of the crew to take this trip into this virtual schooling. So I've been talking to friends and family in Alabama and in Atlanta and different places who have already embarked upon this endeavor. And what I'm hearing, a lot of what I'm hearing is that the first week was kind of like, and then it gets, and then after that, everybody starts to get the swing of it. So I hope that can provide some, feelings of assurance and everything for people who have not stuck their feet in the virtual schooling land yet.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, that's not that different from a regular school year. We find that the first week always tends to be a little hectic, and then by the second week, things get rolling. So we'll see how it goes. What's critically different this time is for those that are virtual only. If you're not connected, you're not connected. So we got to hope that everybody gets connected, and if we see anybody who is disconnected, that we can help them get connected as soon as possible.
Yes, agreed. I definitely agree with that. And I think I have figured out what needs to happen here.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Let's see here. Hold me down, co-host.
Hold you, oh, yeah,
Well,
hold you down. Like, you mean hold you up or work with you while you working on some technical difficulties? Well,
yes.
yeah. So um, as usual, I've heard from many parents and many folks in the village who are also, you know, sharing similar thoughts as you. You're right. We are a few days away. I hope that everybody is getting their equipment or is testing their equipment if they already have it, and we can make sure that we'll have even more people ready to participate in the virtual village as we bring on some new features in the coming weeks.
Oh, yes, we have some exciting things that are in store. We'll be dropping some hints along the way to let everybody know. But our fall programming, ooh, I'm super excited about that. So, you guys, we had the spring time where we just dove right into that. And boy, did we dive into it, but it's been a wonderful swim. I have enjoyed it. And we were going every day at first, twice a day. And then it was Monday through Friday for a while up until July, I think, and then we've come once a week. So it's always good to be here on these Thursdays. But hey, the fall season, we got some things for you. Okay. But before we move on any further, and I got that technical difficulty handled on, but before we move on any further, we got to move on to this.
Look, mommy, community in action, but oh my, let us down to that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too, but oh my, let us down to that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, and let us down to that. Look, granny, and let us down to that. Look, granny, and let us down to that. Learning and exploring about history, you see. Look, mommy, and let us down to that. We confident, we practice and develop fluency. Look, daddy, and let us down to that. Families, they bonding, they representing me. Look, granny, and let us down to that. Look, I'm here, let us down to that. Nice, I see, let us down to that. I'm so reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have to sit. Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, let us down to that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. Well, oh my, let us down to that. Creative, affirming, culture for me too. Look, Brandy, let us down to that.
Forever loving the sound of that. That remains my favorite song. So yeah, now I'm fully present now that I'm not going to handle.
Good to see you. Shall we do a rewind? Welcome.
All right. Good evening, everybody. How are y'all doing on this wonderful Thursday? If you don't know, I am Star Armstrong, and I am the founder of Clever Communities in Action, a nonprofit organization based in Norfolk, Virginia that focuses on improving the literacy of African American children. And to this side of me is my lovely co-host, Mr. Rodney Jordan. All right, because we are replaying this thing back. So how are you doing, Mr. Rodney Jordan?
I'm doing fine. There's been a lot happening this week, and looking forward to more things happening in the coming weeks.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because we're, living through unprecedented times. It can be stress-inducing for some, but it can also be exciting because we're going through uncharted waters. And, I think we can... We have the room to enjoy these waters, enjoy this swim, and make the best of the situation. I think that we'll find some interesting things as we come out on the other side. And I know you've had, and I've had some wonderful conversations with some of our dedicated educators. And it's interesting. I was telling them, I'm like, you guys should keep a journal. Because I just feel like, being the history buff that I am, I'm like, we are in the midst of history. You cannot tell me that 20, 40 years from now, the school shutdown of 2020 is not something that is going to be talked about. And I'm like, take copious notes. And I think even before 20, 40 years from now, just when it comes to education and education reform and so many different things, being on the inside of that, like that, and parents as well, just I don't care if you even just, pick up your phone and talk about your experience for the day real quick. Just document this thing, because
I'm sure the educators told you, oh, sure, Star, we don't have anything else to do. We'll be more than happy to make sure we keep a daily journal. Absolutely.
I understand that it's an idea. It's a suggestion.
I think it's a great idea.
They can't do it, if they can't. Yeah. But I think it's a lot of things that have happened historically that I wish people would have, written it down. They didn't have the ability to, just do this at that point. But it's so many things that happened that I wish more everyday people would have been able to just document, because they didn't think at the time that they were going through it. They didn't look at it from that perspective. But the history buff in me says, this is something that's going to be studied, that's going to be talked about. So
one of the great opportunities we have is, as our villagers and others join us in reading culturally affirming literature, there's an opportunity for us right now to do some of that chronicling right here as part of this great Clever Communities in Action platform. So if others don't get a chance to do it, sounds like something we can integrate maybe a little bit into these broadcasts.
I agree. I definitely do. So, speaking of culturally affirming literature, I understand that you have a treat for us tonight. I think you have a book that, out of so many that I got for my niece while I was in Alabama, this was one of them. I'll talk about some of the others at another time because she got some autographed copies of a particular book, but I'm not going to talk about that tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, you have a book that I think this book came out. It was either earlier this year or last year. It's a fairly new release.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I think we talked about it a little bit. I think it came out last year, towards the end of last year. But it's received many awards. I shared that it's by a Virginian, homegrown Virginian, and not too long ago, the author Kwame Alexander was being featured on the ESPN program along with the publication The Undefeated that ESPN supports, which ties back to I've been reading the 44. Let me move this so I can see. I've been reading the 44, which also is tied to the Undefeated. So there's some synergy there.
Well, we always like synergy around these parts, so that's great. That is
so I downloaded some time ago the book to my Kindle reader, and has a little interesting feature there that we might see along the way. But I thought I would take the opportunity to share The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander here with us tonight.
What is the interesting feature?
In some cases in the book, there's a letter T missing. So as I read, you won't see the letter T, but my brain and your visuals will make you think that the letter T is there, even though you don't realize it's not there. So I don't know if that's a little quirk. I've never had that with other Kindle books, but that was a little quirk that I've noticed with this one.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm sure that's something we can definitely work around.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to step away.
You want me to start with that?
Joy, you read The Undefeated.
All right, let me get this up and going. I think that is the full screen view. All right, so this is a copy. This is the book Undefeated by Kwame Alexander, illustrated by Kadir Nelson. Let's see if we, what? So, The Undefeated again by Kwame Alexander. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and the sweet ones who hurdled history and opened a world of possible. The ones who survived America by any means necessary. And the ones who didn't. This is for the undeniable, the ones who scored with chains on one hand and faith in the other. This is for the unflappable, the sophisticated ones who box adversity and tackle vision. Who shine their light for the world to see and don't stop till the break of dawn. This is for the unafraid, the audacious ones who carried the red, white, and weary blues and the battlefield to save an imperfect union. On the battlefield to save an imperfect union. The righteous marching ones who sing, "We shall not be moved because Black lives matter." This is for the unspeakable. And this is for the unspeakable again. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unlimited one, the unstoppable ones, the dreamers and doers who swim across the big sea of our imagination and show us the majestic shores of the promised land. The Wilma Rudolphs, the Muhammad Alis, the Althea Gibsons, the Jesse Owenses, the Jordans and the LeBrons, the Serenas and the Cheryls, the Reese Whitleys, and the undiscovered. This is for the unbelievable, the we real cool ones. This is for the unbending, the black as the night is beautiful ones. This is for the underdogs and the uncertain, the unspoken, but no longer untitled. This is for the undefeated. This is for you and you. This is for us. So there's an afterword here, and I'll just see if I don't know if I can enlarge this. Nope, doesn't look like I can enlarge this using this platform. But it says, it speaks to the fact that Mr. Alexander donated this to his, or dedicated this in part to his second daughter, who was born after 3 months later, after Barack Obama became the first African American of the United States. This poem was his tribute to both. I wanted to establish from the very beginning that much of what I'm talking about is this poem. So much of American history has been forgotten, left out of the textbooks, and that to truly know who we are as a country, we have to accept and embrace all of our woes and wonders. So I write a poem because I wanted my daughters to know how we got to this historic moment. Or, as the famous Mahalia Jackson spiritual says, you know, my soul looked back and wonder, how did I make it over? I wrote a poem about Black Olympians such as Jesse Owens and Wilma Rudolph, understanding the false narrative of white superiority by racing to gold in front of the whole world, about Malcolm X urging Blacks to fight for freedom, justice, and equality, no matter the method or the cost, about enslaved Africans pushing on with an unwavering fighting spirit of hope and faith that one day they would be free, or that their children or their heirs' children would one day become the masters of their own destinies, about Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston in the Harlem Renaissance, about cultural expression and liberation in the Black arts movement, about Dr. King's acceptance speech for the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize, about a promised land without racial injustice, poverty, and war, about civil rights marchers chanting, "We shall overcome," and demonstrating across the South, about Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali boxing racial prejudice in and out of the ring, about Black Civil War soldiers saving a union that refused to see them as equals, about Black Lives Matter, about Black Lives Matter, about Black Lives Matter, because we are Americans, because we are human beings. But mostly I wrote a poem to remind Samaya and her friends and family and all of you, to remind myself to never ever give up, because as Maya Angelou wrote, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. It may even be necessary to encounter the defeat so that we can know who we are, so that we can see, that happened, and I rose. I did get knocked down flat in front of the whole world, and I rose. Keep rising. Kwame Alexander, May 11th, 2018. Yeah, it had a little small print in there.
Yeah, that was a little tough. That was a little tough to see, but it was a great story. The illustrations were great, and I like what he wrote at the end. That was powerful.
Yeah, and
And
I think it fits with what we've been talking about these last 25, 26, 27 weeks. We truly are undefeated. And I think we have to remember that even as we deal with certain obstacles, there's no obstacle that we cannot overcome and no obstacle that's been thrown at us that we have not conquered. So tomorrow's just another day.
agreed, agreed. So that was great. That was wonderful. I hope you all enjoyed The Undefeated, read by Rodney. And he did a great job with going through that small print. I was trying to see if I could save you and enlarge it, but it wasn't. There was nothing
Yeah.
for that. But you did a great job, and that was a wonderful story. And as you said, it definitely correlates with what the thing that we've been talking about here. That's the thing about the virtual village. That's the thing about Clever Community. So it's all about literacy. It's all about literature, but it is culturally affirming literature. It is a safe space for us to come with our children, for adults to come, for families to come and get a dose of positive literature that affirms who we are, that, and we can have the conversations infused around things that we are dealing with that you may not see going on, that you definitely don't see going on in a lot of different places and spaces when it comes to speaking about literacy. So that is very important to us that we are having these conversations here, that we are dealing in reality, because that's all it is. We're just not gleaming over the truth around these parts. What did they say? The truth shall set you free. Yes.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. So anyway, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Now I have a book here, an oldie but goodie. I've had this one for a long time, and I'm always delighted that when we do our book deliveries, when we make the donations at our event every year at the schools, that a lot of children actually are attracted to this book. It's not a big book, but it's 5 Brilliant Scientists. And this is one in my own personal stash who's been beat up a lot, but nonetheless, again, 5 Brilliant Scientists, and the children always look at this one. The Malcolm X book is the one that I feel has gotten the most strong reaction. The Malcolm when he was little, I believe
Yes.
That book garners such a strong reaction from children. Like I said, when we do the delivery and all the books are set up in the library and the children walk in and they get to touch on them and feel on them and look through them. After we do the presentation and everything, there's always a child who is holding on to that book like this. And I have to tell them that they have to wait until it gets put into circulation. But, put in a little word with the media specialist and make sure that this little one gets it first. I've seen that happen so many times. It's something about that book that just really resonates. And so this one, surprisingly, because it doesn't have, the illustration is fine, but I don't know. I guess 5 Brilliant Scientists is enticing to our children. So I think that's great. So we are going to learn about some brilliant scientists. I may, because I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing. So I might, at least let's see how I do. I may skip over George Washington Carver and then see if I'm going to come back, because you did a great job previously of thoroughly talking about him and giving us some information about him. So I may skip him and just go. It may end up being 4 Brilliant Scientists tonight. So we shall see. So I'm going to start this thing off, and I'm going to kick you off of here, and I will see you shortly. All right. So Rodney's going, and I am here. And again, I'm reading 5 Brilliant Scientists. All right. So we are going to start off with Susan McKinney Stewart. I always think it's fascinating. Again, I'm a history buff. I don't know if you guys are, but just looking at pictures like this of people during that time and just thinking this was she was born in 1847. So she was born during the time of enslavement. and she died in 1918. So that was a while ago, but just thinking about that, this is how people dressed every day. This is how people showed up for life every day. Things are so different now. Like, we're so relaxed, right? But yeah, like thoroughly getting up every day, suited and booted all the way up to your neck. So let's find out about Susan McKinney Stewart. It says caring children's doctor. In March, let me see, can I get this in a way where I can do that? In March 1847, in Brooklyn, New York, the Smith family gathered for a celebration. Sylvanus and Ann Smith welcomed their seventh child, a beautiful baby girl named Susan Maria Smith. Susan would grow up to do great things. She would become the first Black female doctor in New York State. No one's sure why Susan decided to become a doctor. Some say she became interested in medicine because her niece had become very ill. Susan helped to take care of her, but the girl was so ill that she died. Soon after, Susan announced to her family, "I'm going to become a doctor." Women doctors were very rare in those days. Black women doctors were even more rare. There were only 2 in the entire country. Many men at the time didn't believe women should become doctors, but Susan said stubbornly, "I can do it." In 1867, when she was 20 years old, Susan entered the New York Medical College and Hospital for Women in New York City. The college taught homeopathy, a special type of medicine that treated patients with drugs containing some of the same germs that had made the patients ill. Homeopathy was introduced to the United States from England in 1825. Many people did not trust this type of medicine because it was so different, but Susan was fascinated by it. Susan was the first Black woman to attend the medical college. She was an excellent student. She took classes in biology and chemistry. She learned how different parts of the body work. She studied plants and how they could be used to treat illnesses. When her classmates were sleeping, Susan was up studying. She spent long hours at hospitals learning to care for the sick. On March 23rd, 1870, Susan graduated. She was the first Black woman to receive a medical degree in New York State and the third in the United States. Right away, Dr. Susan Smith opened a doctor's office in her Brooklyn home. In the beginning, business was slow. At first, people did not trust her, but the patients that she had helped told their friends and families about the caring new doctor. Word about Susan began to spread. After a while, her practice started to grow. Soon, Susan opened another office in Manhattan. She treated Blacks and whites. She helped the poor and the rich. There were stories about her achievements in newspapers. She was famous. On July 12, 1871, Susan married Reverend William G. McKinney. They had 2 children, William and Anna. Sadly, in 1890, the doctor's husband became ill and died. 3 years later, she married Reverend Theophilus Gold Stewart, who was the chaplain of the 25th U.S. Colored Infantry. The men of the infantry were also known as Buffalo Soldiers. The doctor traveled with her husband to different forts where she treated many Black soldiers. Throughout her career, Susan worked hard for her patients. She gave lectures to the public about health, nutrition, and medicine. She often spoke about women's rights and the progress of Black women. In 1881, Susan helped found the Memorial Hospital for Women and Children. She looked after senior citizens at the Brooklyn Home for Aged Colored People. She was on the staff of the New York Medical College and Hospital for Women. Susan also belonged to the New York State Homeopathic Medical Society. The dedicated doctor died on March 7, 1918. She was 71 years old. The Susan Smith McKinney Junior High School in Brooklyn, New York was named in her honor on September 25, 1974. Later, the Susan Smith McKinney Stewart Medical Society was founded by a group of women doctors. Okay, so who knew about Miss Susan McKinney Stewart. Did anybody tuned in? No. Before I go to the next one, I'm going to bring my co-host back up here. I know you are quite the history buff as well. Were you familiar with this lady?
No, I wasn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and as I'm listening to this, as I'm, reading it, I'm wondering if there were a couple of things that they named here, and I'm wanting to know if they are still in existence today. Places that she helped establish, things that were established in her name, places where she worked. This was a lot that this woman did during the time. Yeah, she was born in 1847. So this is pretty amazing.
And tell me again, say again where some of the places that if you're able to share that.
So she helped found the Memorial Hospital for Women and Children. And this is somewhere in New York.
Oh, in New York. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. I believe there was. So she had her own practice. They did not give us the name of her practice. And I'm also curious about the school that she attended, New York Medical College. She attended there. She enrolled when she was 18 in 1867. So I'm wondering, was this a black school or was this an integrated school? It's a lot of interesting things here.
Yeah, there's at least right now, it still shows the New York Medical College, one of the nation's largest private health science universities, and it says it was founded in 1860. So it's possible, being up in New York at that time, that she may have had the opportunity to attend there. At that time in history. We'll have to do some more research on it.
Yeah, this is extremely interesting. And then when it said with her second husband, she traveled around and assisted infantry soldiers. She worked with aged Black people in a Brooklyn home for aged, they said, colored people. She was on staff at the New York Medical College and Hospital for Women. Homeopathic medicine. So a lot of groundbreaking things here. This is a dynamic woman that we haven't heard of.
I found a reference here. It says that the sister institution, referring to the New York Homeopathic Medical College and Hospital. So it says the sister institution, known as the New York Medical College and Hospital for Women, was founded a few years later in 1863. In 1867, it graduated Emily Stowe, the first female physician to practice in Canada. 3 years later, in 1870, Susan McKinney Stewart graduated as the first African-American female physician in New York State. And then it says one of the later graduates in the class of 1905 also held a law degree and founded the East Side Clinic for Children in 1906. So clearly this institution, even back then, was producing some great opportunities for women. And as you shared, that included women of color.
Amazing Black women. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So we got to look up some more on that. These little treasures. This is why this is so important. The literacy aspect, but also learning about our history and culture, things that have been buried that people don't want us to know. I find that to be very interesting. I'm going to go back and look up some things myself.
Yeah, and forgive me. So did you also note that she was valedictorian of her class?
I don't think they did that.
Yeah. So it says here that not only was she the first African-American female physician in New York State and the third in the nation, she graduated in 1870, valedictorian of her class.
I guess her accolades were plentiful. They only give it a few pages. Now, does it mention, was she born a slave?
You know, I saw a reference to that. Let's see.
Or was she enslaved?
Yeah. Let's see. I don't see any reference to that, and I have to think in 1847 in New York, it may have been the case that that they did not have slavery at that time. I don't recall when New York.
New York, she was.
Yeah, but I don't see any reference to that, so probably not.
I would like to unpack a little more the condition of Black people in New York during that time. I feel like that doesn't get discussed a lot.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of times it is geographic. So, but I think there's definitely a gap there. But you know, if you're raised and born in New York, you probably hear more about that than you hear in, you know, born and raised in Virginia. But one of the things that we know that we're working on, and why this work is so important, is being able to share not just the national stories that we hear about, but also these regional and local stories of accomplishment that deserve national and worldwide recognition.
Definitely. So I'm gonna do you like you have done me before. I'm not gonna kick you off the screen while I read the next one.
Okay, that's fine. I accept.
I'll keep you up here. You know, eat my pecans between. So I'm gonna next read about Miss Shirley Ann Jackson, who is a great who is a great nuclear scientist. Well, I don't know when this was published, so hopefully she still is. So Shirley Ann Jackson, born 1946, great nuclear scientist. Mom, one day everyone will call me Shirley the Great, exclaimed 4-year-old Shirley Ann Jackson. Mrs. Jackson looked at her young child and smiled. Shirley was born in Washington, D.C. on August 5th, 1946. Her parents, Beatrice and George Jackson, believed their little girl was special too. They were right. Shirley Ann Jackson achieved many firsts. And this is a look at Shirley the Great. She would become one of the most respected nuclear physicists in the United States. As a young girl, Shirley liked science so much she did experiments at home just for fun. One day, Shirley decided to do an experiment with bees. She went into the backyard and sneaked up behind the bees that were on the rose bushes. She gently scooped the bees into jars. Altogether, she collected bumblebees, yellow jackets, and wasps. The young future scientist put 3 bees, one of each type, into 30 different glass jars. She stored the jars in a space underneath the porch. Shirley studied how different foods affected the bees. Shirley also studied how the bees got along with one another. She wrote down her results in a notebook. Then she set the bees free. When she started high school in 1960, Shirley was still doing experiments. Now she entered them in the school science fairs. Shirley and the bees. Shirley attended all-Black Roosevelt High School in Washington, D.C. The school didn't have a good science lab, so Shirley did her experiments at home. Her hard work paid off. She was a straight-A student. Here comes the brain, students said when she passed by. Shirley graduated from Roosevelt High in the summer of 1964. She had the highest grade average in the class. In the fall, Shirley went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT, in Cambridge. They had the best programs in math and science. Shirley wanted to become a scientist. She was one of only a handful of Blacks who went to MIT. But that didn't stop her from reaching for her goal. She studied hard and she passed all of her tests. In 1968, Shirley graduated with a degree in physics, the science of matter and energy. After graduation, Shirley kept studying at MIT, and in 1973, she received a Doctor of Physics degree. Shirley was the first Black woman at MIT to receive this important certificate. Shirley mainly studied theoretical physics. That means she used math to figure out how atoms, the tiniest bits of matter, work. Shirley is one of the first Black women to specialize in this field of science. In 1976, Shirley went to work for American Telegraph and Telephone, AT&T. Who knew that's what that stood for? Company in Murray Hill, New Jersey. Her work with atoms helped AT&T design and build circuits, paths through which electricity can flow. She helped them design and build semiconductor lasers, materials that let electricity run through it. Without these materials, you wouldn't be able to talk to your friends on the phone, long distance, or play your CDs. Through her work, Shirley met Morris A. Washington. He was a physicist at AT&T too. Shirley and Morris fell in love and got married. They have one son, Alan. Throughout her career, Shirley has held many big jobs. She has taught at universities. She served for 10 years on the New Jersey Commission on Science and Technology. She received many prestigious awards and honors. In 1995, Shirley received a special honor. President Bill Clinton named her chairman of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC, in Rockville, Maryland. This was another first. Shirley Jackson became the commission's first Black chairperson. The chairperson's job at the NRC is very, very important. It is to make sure nuclear power plants around the country are safe. The chairperson helps find safe places to store harmful nuclear waste. She makes sure that nuclear wastes are destroyed properly. The chairperson also helps decide how nuclear materials can be used in medical and scientific research. Dr. Jackson left the NRC in 1999 to accept the position as president of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. Shirley Ann Jackson is proud of her achievements. More than anything, she hopes that her success will inspire other African American children to become scientists too. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission makes sure power plants like this one are safe. So that is Shirley Jackson, Shirley Ann Jackson.
Yeah. Now I had heard of her before.
I feel like I have. I'm laughing at the comment. You know what I'm laughing. I feel like that I've heard of her as well. I don't remember the name, but I remember the reading about the work, the accomplishments. I find this history, all of these things, to be very fascinating. As to we're talking about the 60s, and you're still having firsts happening.
Yeah, I mean, you still have first happening in 2020. So it's like we were saying a little earlier. In one sense, when the first are earlier in history, it's a testament to many things, and even now, it's still a testament to the fact that there are opportunities that we still are opening doors, and there'll be many firsts to come. But yeah, you're right. It does seem a little awkward at times when you think about 1960s, 1990s.
As you said,
yeah.
And the reason why I say that is not a testament to us. I'm saying that, and I don't even know. There are so many things when you start talking about first, maybe not necessarily this, but things that just don't get recorded, or people who were doing certain things that may have fallen along the lines of brilliant things, but they weren't formally called that or formally trained. But it's just a testament into the fabric of the society in which we live in. I'm always here to tell that story and to put that into perspective for people. It has nothing, the first, if a first is happening in 2020, it is not a testament. It says nothing to the ability of Black people. It just says the things that we have had to overcome in the society in which we live in that would make it be that way, that still to this point, we're having to break through particular barriers. Sometimes you and I look at these things a little differently, but I find that to be problematic, not again towards Black people, but to the society that we live in. And again, I think it's very important to put those things into perspective, because a lot of times people pass judgments about certain things without understanding. Undefeated, yes, but let's recognize the battles that, all of the battles that have been fought as we, continue to say we are, undefeated. There's been a lot that we definitely have accomplished, overcome, and are still forging through.
Yeah, no, I don't have any disagree with that, but I also think a lot of it has to do with the work that you do. The more that people are exposed, the more reading that we do, the more research that we do, the more telling of of our own story, the more these stories get told and information gets shared, and maybe in some instances, things that we thought were first or that others have claimed as first, we come find out that they weren't really first.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of the fact that those who were forerunning didn't have the opportunity for their story to be told and to be heard.
Exactly. I definitely believe that, because there are so many things that we continue to find out, and there are so many things that have been suppressed. And then I think there are people who, again, were doing things, but they may not have had formal training in those. Just as much as we know that Black people invented things, but they were not able to get it patented. Patents were created. The concept of a patent was created, and then the patents were stolen, and they were stolen. And so Black person invented it. We have things that are just coming out now, where people are finding out what is the liquor that they started talking about recently. It's two liquors that I found out recently, that a Black man was the person who invented it. And since then, the lineage, the family of that, was it Jack? Don't get me to saying the wrong thing.
I think I have heard that, what you were about ready to say. I think there is some roots in that one, but I'm not much of a connoisseur, so I think I remember hearing that story though.
I have friends who are connoisseurs, and so I would have to go back and ask them or look it up myself. But nonetheless, the family, they have a lineage of wealth as a result of Jack Daniels, or whichever one this is. And Mr. Jack, not so much.
Yeah, this is I just pulled something up from New York Times. Looks like maybe New York Times Magazine from 2016, and it references at least the headline is Jack Daniels embraces a hidden ingredient, help from a slave. So yeah, there's all kinds of stories in parts of history like that have not been told or not been shared, or if it has been told, people may not be aware of. So
and then you'll get the 2021 first Black person to create their own liquor, or first Black person to do it. It's like, no, actually not. Yeah. Actually not. Things were stolen. It's been done plenty of times. Actually, the one that you're benefiting off of right now, that you have a whole, you sent all your children to school with and everything, and everybody's living high off the hog. Yeah, that was a brother. That was a sister. Yeah. So, but we are here to tell the truth, okay? We are here to inform, inspire, and empower one another through literacy, through the written word, through accuracy and affirming, our history and our culture. It all starts with our babies knowing how to read and with them loving to read. So that's why we bring the stories where they can see themselves in that. We bring the stories where when we talk about Shirley Ann Jackson, somebody can be like, that looks like my auntie. That looks like my grandma. That looks like the Miss such and such in my neighborhood, in my church, in my, whatever it may be. So that is the power in what we are doing here. So I am going to grab some of these comments very quickly. We have Bridget. How are you doing, sis? This is back to when you were reading The Undefeated. She said, great read, Rodney. And we have George here, He concurs. He said, great read. And then George was wanting clarification as to whether or not Susan McKinney Stewart was enslaved. And Bridget says, wow, how talented were both those women. Yes, amazing. And George said, wow, Shirley built a nuclear bomb. Crazy bomb. And then we have Sharon Tucker here who says, love this. We are glad that you are loving it and that you are tuned in. And then George says, this show is so informative. Nuclear power and medical breakthroughs. Love it. Yes. We are glad that you are loving it. Let's see. It is 7:52. I don't think that I have time for another.
Well, I want to. There's a little bit of history. I was saying a lot of things, happened over the last week or so. I just want to see if I can share one little bit of history. Can you speak to this history that's on the screen here?
I love that history. I don't love that picture, but I love that day. I love what happened. Thank you for the reminder, because I had every intention of bringing this up, and the fact that I'm hungry has caused me to falter. So that right there, first of all, is our precious, beautiful Shania. That is Shania, and you found how to magnify it.
Well, in this one I can, yeah.
She is one of the prominent members of the literacy gang, and we, Rodney and I, went to see her perform for her play Junie, and she had a great role in the Junie B. Jones musical, and she did an outstanding job, as we knew she would. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and believe it or not, it was the first time we met her in person. But let me move on before I talk about that to what we see right there. So that is a donation that Shania made to Clever Communities in Action. And everything about that touches my heart in so many ways. So Shania is only 10 years young. And this summer, she had an entrepreneurial endeavor, and she started her own lemonade stand. And out of the money that she made for her lemonade stand, she made a $50 contribution to Clever Communities in Action. And for such a young child to, No,
you're fine. Go ahead. I did that. Go ahead. Keep going.
Can they hear us though?
Yes, I think so. I hope so. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if they can hear us without us.
Okay.
So for such a young child to understand the importance of giving back to the community that nurtures her at a young age, like she could have taken all her lemonade stand money and, saved it, because it seems like something Shania would do. Shania seems like she has stocks and bonds already, but she could have done whatever she wanted to do with that money, but she decided to take a portion of that money and give it back to the community that is nurturing her. You all are a part of that community, and it really, really touched me in so many ways, that she was thoughtful that way, and that she felt that moved by Clever Communities in Action and what this movement has brought to her life. So I mean, her grandmother ended up telling me, Rodney, that after the fact, Shania said to her, I'm surprised Miss Star didn't cry. I was like, y'all don't know me. But I'm surprised I didn't either. And it was so great to meet her and her grandmother in person. And the thing about this whole literacy gang, we've been convening, all of us, since March. And I feel like I know y'all, especially the regulars on here. So when I saw Shania, it was kind of like, we're meeting in person, but I feel like I already know you. Like I'm seeing my baby girl in person, but I'm like, I already know you. And it was great. The energy was great. Look at that again, 10-year-old making a donation, and we appreciate that. We're putting that to great use. George says, how do we donate to the cause? Excellent question. To donate to the work that Clever Communities is doing, you can visit clevercommunities.org, and you can see where you can donate there. Or, and I will drop this in the comment section, if you are a PayPal person, we are donations@clevercommunities.org. That is donations@clevercommunities.org is our email. And if you are a Cash App person, We are $Clever Communities. We make it easy. Or you can run right on over to clevercommunities.org and make that donation. So it's multiple ways, whatever floats your boat. We have all the ways in which you can give. And again, you guys see we are putting in the work. It is all about our children. It is all about literacy. It is all about community. And it is about building children who are strong, confident readers, but children who also are proud of who they are and proud of their community. And that right there with Shania, see, I talk about all the time as we bring our children up. You know, you get to the point around May and June where you start seeing the children graduating from high school, or maybe they're graduating from college. And I think that is wonderful. But I think if we're not raising our children to understand to come back and use the talents that they have, the knowledge that they obtain to make their communities better, then we're doing a disservice, because that's what it's all about. It's supposed to be cyclical. So we got to make sure that we are pouring into them in a way in which they feel connected to their community where they want to do that. And so again, my heart is warm. There's no check that could give me the warm and fuzzies like our 10-year-old Shania do. I appreciate it all. And we put it all to good use. But the checks with all the zeros behind it, or 1 0 behind it, knowing that one of our youth did that is everything. It is everything.
Yeah, and coming in the midst of the Black Philanthropy Month focus and efforts, it was also very timely. And so we talk a lot about the impact that we can have on young people. But as you said, for her to be operating her entrepreneurial lemonade stand, normally if she wasn't performing, she might be performing tonight. We know that she would be one of the first ones up here, you know, greeting us. But the fact that she thought of giving, as was said earlier right here in this comment, is it really means a lot. And that's something that we hope that others will also model in terms of thinking about others in this time of sometimes stress, but also a time of giving and love and looking out for our neighbors.
Indeed. Very well said. I love it. And it appears people were able to hear us. So you were right. I didn't realize that we could get off the screen and they can still hear us. That is great.
Yeah.
I'll grab some more of these comments here. Miss Jo Angela, how are you doing? She said, we must read. Thank you both for sharing your insight. Thank you. And then we have, now this person right here, I have to give him his accolades. I've been working with our children for a very long time, but streamlining it into a literacy focus. He was a huge spark, not a tiny spark, but a huge spark that got me into that focus. And starting out with the book drive that we do, where which started out one way and grew to a big community event where we have donated thousands of culturally affirming books to dozens of Title I elementary schools around Hampton Roads in Flint, Michigan. So what happened, and I'm gonna try to make this quick because we're at our time. Dr. Quarles was my dermatologist at the time, so he got me right, of course, we're conversing and talking about different things. And then he ends up shooting me an email telling me about a read-in, an African-American read-in happening at Chesterfield Academy in Norfolk. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds dope to me. So I'm going. So at the time I took off work and I made sure that I showed up there, and it was wonderful. It was everything. It was great. The school was great. The children were great. I just really, really loved it. But I looked around the library, and my opinion at that time, this was some years ago, I felt like they could have more Black children's books in the library. So I set out, this is before people were doing a lot of crowdfunding online and everything. Like, I had never seen it before. I just found something and started a fundraiser. And that year, that was our first year, we were able to put 54 books into Chesterfield and 54 into PB Young. And since then, it became 100 books for every school each year. And again, it's been a lot of books that a lot of babies have gotten in their hands. So Dr. Quarles, big shout out to him for that spark there. I don't know if I've told him that story or not, but I've told the story. So if he's still here, now he knows.
Well, Dr. Quarles is, we talk about these heroes that are in the background sometimes and do a lot of work and don't look for a lot of credit and just about serving and uplifting and inspiring. That is definitely Dr. Quarles and his family. And so I didn't know. I mean, I remember you mentioned that story. I didn't know all the details. I do know that, he's a far more faithful church member than I am. But I do know that the men of the church and one of the brothers at the church was actually teaching pre-K or kindergarten at Chesterfield Academy. So I'm sure all of that flowed together. And like he said, he's also from Detroit. So
get out of here.
Yeah. He's a Michigan man.
Y'all don't know. I don't think I ever told this either. Like I'm not sure if it was the first time because I went for a water delivery, but I know the first time that Clever Communities did a book donation in Flint, I was thinking about moving to Detroit because my heart was just broken. And I was like, I got to be here by my Flint babies. And then I started reading up on moving there and they were talking about weatherproofing your home. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. So, like, I'm from the South. I don't speak that language. I don't understand it. And that was the deterrent. So we try to make it up there every year. We weren't able to go obviously this year. And but we try to make it up there every year since we found out about the Flint water crisis. So wow. And that's the beauty of when your dermatologist is Black. That's the thing. He was able to put me on like that. And look at the thing that came from that. So I think that is wonderful.
Yeah. He also took care of my younger daughter's eczema as well when she was a youngin. So
great. Yeah.
Great doctor as well. Yes.
Yes. So I'm gonna grab some more comments real quickly, then we're gonna get out of here. So we have Sharice who says, young lady, hand claps to Shania. Sharice's husband and their son is actually our profile picture right now. They are reading a book together from a friend of our organization, Mr. Derek Barnes, New York Times bestselling children's book author. It just came out, I Am Every Good Thing. If you don't have I Am Every Good Thing, you need to get I Am Every Good Thing in the hands of any little boys in your life. And then, of course, Dr. Quarles said, this is when they were letting us know that they could hear us. Again, George asked about how to donate to the cause. To donate to the cause is donations@clevercommunities.org for PayPal. And it is $ Clever Communities for Cash App, or you can just go over to clevercommunities.org. All donations are appreciated and put to great use. Miss Joangela Walden said, that's amazing. Thank you, Shania, for giving forward. You already read that one. And George Houston said, y'all got me fired up to donate. Skin looks great too. I can't sing it. Y'all read the rest of that, okay? Y'all read the rest of that. And Miss Joangela says, our unsung heroes, they walk amongst us every day. And then Dr. Kroll says, read. Thank you, Star and Rodney, for all you do. Ditto, likewise. And did you catch his comment on my Al Green's?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I wanted to say something about it, but I didn't want to be the one to say it. So I was so glad that he said it.
Somebody had to say it. I was like, I knew it was coming. I couldn't believe it went that far without anybody saying it. But anyway, you guys, I put up a post the other day where somebody put up at the Walgreens sign. It had a picture of Al Green in front of the W, and it was Al Green's. So
that's actually an artist out of Pennsylvania that has many other performing arts like that. I don't think that's the right word, but he does other artwork like that. And Al Grits. Okay, enough. That will get me in trouble.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Like we said, we have some exciting things that are coming up for our fall season, which is going to start in October. But we will still be here on Thursdays leading up until then. So you guys know where to find us. We are not going anywhere. We are in this together. And because this is our last show before school starts, we definitely want to wish all of our children from pre-K on up to our seniors, all of our teachers, all of our educators, administrators, all of our parents, everybody who has a stake in this, a wonderful, wonderful 2020-2021 beginning school year. And for all the children who have already started, because a lot have already started, we hope that everything is going splendid for you guys. And just remember, again, we are in this together. So if you need help, don't be shy to ask somebody, to tell somebody, and look forward, as Rodney kind of foreshadowed a little bit, at this being a beacon, of light and a place for us to convene and share these things with one another and to help each other out. So that's all I got. Rodney, you want to close this out?
I'll just say, you said don't be shy. I'll just say to the parents out there, be aggressive. Go get the devices and the books and the things that school systems have for your children, and don't relent till you get them. We need to make sure all of our children are ready to go in this virtual environment that many are starting, or a hybrid environment, or even if it's an in-person environment. Go get the things that your children need to be successful on day one, and make sure it stays that way for all the other 180 days, 779 days, or whatever it may be that your child is doing. Go get the materials that your children need to succeed.
What my co-host said, I agree thoroughly. Just to clarify, Al Green is an icon.
Yes, he is.
On that note, you all have a great evening. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Be safe and a great start to the school year. And we will see you guys on Thursday. We want to hear all about it. Peace.
Look, mommy, community in action. But oh my, let us sound of that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. But oh my, let us sound of that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, and let us sound of that. Look, granny, and let us sound of that. Look, granny, and let us sound of that. Learning, exploring my history, you see. Look, mommy, and let us sound of that. We confident, we practice, and developing fluency. Look, daddy, and let us sound of that. Families, they bond and they representing me. Look, granny, and let us sound of that. Look, I'm here, let us sound of that. Nice, I see, let us sound of that.
So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have to sit.
Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, let us sound of that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. Well, oh my, let us sound of that. Creative, affirming, culture for me too. Look, granny, let us sound of that.